Lions Nation, something massive is brewing in Detroit right now that could completely transform our offensive line for this playoff push. And welcome to Lions News Fan Report, your trusted source for breaking news, exclusive updates, and in-depth analysis on our beloved Detroit Lions. The whispers coming out of Allen Park in the past 48 hours have been impossible to ignore. And what I'm about to share with you involves two of the most decorated offensive linemen in the NFL. A strategic move that would signal this organization is going all in on a Super Bowl run, and a decision that could define whether we're legitimate championship contenders or just another team. That fell short when it mattered most. Stay locked in, because by the time we reach the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the next few days could be absolutely crucial for our season. Let me take you back to Sunday afternoon at Ford Field. The atmosphere was electric, as always, our fans bringing that energy that makes playing in Detroit one of the most intimidating experiences for any visiting team. But then it happened. Christian Mahogany went down with what looked like a serious injury, and the collective gasp from 70,000 fans told you everything you needed to know. When Dan Campbell addressed the media on Monday, his words were sobering. Mahogany would be out for a long time with a broken ankle, and just like that, our offensive line depth took a massive hit. Now some fans might say we have guys who can step up, that Tristan Cullen or Kingsley Aguakan can fill that void. And sure, those are capable players who've worked hard and deserve opportunities. But here's the reality that nobody wants to admit out loud. Our offensive line hasn't been the same dominant force it was the previous two seasons. We've seen cracks in protection, we've seen inconsistency in the run game, and losing Mahogany only exposes those vulnerabilities even more. This is where things get really interesting, and this is where I need you to pay close attention, because what I'm about to tell you could change everything. The Cleveland Browns are having a nightmare season. They're nowhere near playoff contention. Their roster is aging in key positions, and their front office is facing some serious decisions about the future direction of that franchise. When teams find themselves in that situation, they start making calls, they start listening to offers, and they start evaluating which veterans might have more value as trade assets than as players on a losing team. Cleveland has two guards on their roster who aren't just good players. They're multiple-time Pro Bowlers. They're guys who have been among the elite at their position for years, and they're exactly the type of experienced, battle-tested linemen that a championship-caliber team like ours could use right now. Their names are Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, and the possibility of either or both of them ending up in Detroit is something that's being discussed in circles much closer to the decision-makers than most fans realize. Now, I want to be clear about something before we go any further. This isn't confirmed. This isn't a done deal, and this isn't me telling you to start printing jerseys with their names on the back. But what this is a legitimate scenario that makes too much sense from too many angles to ignore. Think about it from Cleveland's perspective. They're going nowhere this season. Bitonio is 33 years old, Teller is 30, and both are on contracts that carry significant cap hits. If they can get draft capital or young players in return for veterans who won't be part of their next competitive window, that's smart roster management. From Detroit's perspective, we're sitting at a record that puts us right in the thick of the playoff race. We have a quarterback in Jared Goff who's playing at an MVP level. We have weapons all over the field. And our only real question marks are on the offensive line and defensively. If you can shore up that offensive line with proven commodities who know how to win, who've played in big games, and who can step in immediately without a learning curve, you do it without hesitation. Let me paint a picture of what our offensive line could look like with these additions. Imagine Penei Sewell continuing to dominate at right tackle, Frank Ragnow anchoring the center position like the all-pro he is, and then you add Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller into that mix at the guard spots. That's not just an upgrade, that's a transformation. That's the kind of offensive line that opens up massive holes in the run game, that gives Goff all day to throw, that physically dominates opponents in the fourth quarter when games are won and lost. Bitonio has been selected to 4 Pro Bowls. He's been a model of consistency and excellence throughout his career, and he brings that veteran leadership that young players feed off of. Teller is a mauler in the run game, the kind of guard who moves defensive linemen off the line of scrimmage and creates those explosive running lanes that make David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs so dangerous. The timing of this potential move is critical. We just picked up rookie guard Jack Conley and added him to the practice squad, which signals that the coaching staff knows we need more bodies and more competition along that line. But Conley is a developmental player, someone who might contribute down the road, but isn't the answer for a team trying to win now. Bitonio and Teller are win-now players. They're guys who've been there, done that, and know exactly what it takes to perform at the highest level. Dan Campbell has built this team on a foundation of toughness, physicality, and an identity that revolves around controlling the line of scrimmage. You don't maintain that identity with question marks and uncertainties up front. You maintain it by having the best possible players in those positions, and if Cleveland is willing to move either of these guards, Detroit absolutely needs to be aggressive in pursuing them. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Didn't we just see the Lions stay completely inactive at the trade deadline? Didn't we watch other teams make moves while we stood pat? That's true, and honestly, that inactivity was puzzling given Dan Campbell's personality and our win-now mentality. We needed help at edge rusher with Aiden Hutchinson needing support. We could have used secondary help, and we chose to do nothing. That decision didn't sit well with a lot of fans, myself included. But here's the thing about the NFL. Opportunities don't always present themselves on deadline day. Sometimes the best moves happen in the days and weeks after, when teams realize their seasons are over and they become more willing to part with assets. The Browns might not have been sellers at the deadline, but their situation has only gotten worse since then. Every loss makes it clearer that they need to rebuild, and every loss makes veterans like Bitonio and Teller more available. The financial aspect of this potential deal is something we need to address because it's not as simple as just trading for players and plugging them into the lineup. Both Bitonio and Teller carry substantial salaries, and the Lions would need to navigate the salary cap implications of adding one or both of them. However, Brad Holmes has proven to be incredibly savvy with cap management. He's structured contracts in ways that give us flexibility. He's made moves that balance short-term competitiveness with long-term sustainability. And if anyone can figure out how to make the numbers work, it's him. The other consideration is what we'd have to give up in terms of draft capital or players. Cleveland isn't going to just hand over Pro Bowl guards for nothing. They'll want picks, probably mid-round selections at minimum, and they might ask for young players who fit their rebuilding timeline. That's a cost we need to be willing to pay if we're serious about winning a championship this year. Let's talk about the impact this would have on our locker room and our team chemistry. One of the most underrated aspects of adding veteran players is the intangible leadership they bring. Bitonio and Teller have been captains. They've been the guys their teammates look to in tough moments, and they know how to handle the pressure of playing meaningful football in December and January. Our offensive line room would instantly become deeper, more experienced, and more capable of handling whatever defenses throw at us. The young guys on our line would have mentors who can teach them the nuances of playing the position at an elite level. And perhaps most importantly, it would send a message to the entire roster that this organization is committed to doing whatever it takes to win now. I want you to think about our schedule moving forward and the challenges we're going to face. We have division games against Minnesota, Green Bay, and Chicago that will determine whether we win the NFC North. We potentially have playoff matchups against teams like San Francisco, Philadelphia, and whoever emerges from the NFC South. Those are physical, grinding games where the team that controls the line of scrimmage usually wins. Do we want to go into those battles with question marks and uncertainties on our offensive line, or do we want to go in with a unit that features multiple Pro Bowlers and strikes fear into opposing defenses? The answer seems obvious to me. Dan Campbell's entire philosophy is built on aggression and taking calculated risks to put his team in the best position to win. We've seen it in his play calling, we've seen it in fourth down decisions, and we've seen it in the culture he's created. So the question becomes, will that aggression extend to roster construction in the coming days? Will Holmes and Campbell look at the opportunity to land Bitonio and Teller and pull the trigger? Or will they decide that what we have is good enough? I'm optimistic that they'll be aggressive, that they'll recognize this as a potential game-changing move, and that they'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. This team is too talented, this window is too open, and this opportunity is too rare to let it slip away because we were too cautious or too conservative. The next 72 to 96 hours could be absolutely crucial. If Cleveland continues to lose and if their front office decides it's time to start selling, we need to be first in line. We need to make the best offer, we need to show them we're serious, and we need to close the deal before another contender swoops in and takes these players off the board. The NFC is wide open this year. There's no dominant team that looks unbeatable. Whoever gets hot at the right time, whoever stays healthy, and whoever makes the right moves to address their weaknesses is going to have a legitimate shot at hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Adding Bitonio and Teller would address our biggest weakness and would give us the kind of offensive line that can carry us through the playoffs. Lions fans, I want to hear from you on this. Do you think we should go all in and try to land Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller from Cleveland? What would you be willing to give up in terms of draft picks or players to make this happen? And do you trust that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell will be aggressive enough to seize this opportunity if it's really there? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is exactly the kind of conversation our fan base needs to be having right now. If you want to stay on top of every development with the Detroit Lions, if you want breaking news the second it happens, and analysis that goes deeper than the surface-level stuff you'll find anywhere else, then you need to subscribe to Lions News Fan Report right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, smash that like button if you found this breakdown valuable, and share this video with every Lions fan you know. I'll be back with more exclusive content as this situation develops. 1. Pride.